What's up guys, Phoenix here. This video is going to be another DevPro duel video in Ranked, and this time I'm going to be playing with the Amorphage deck yet again, this time a different version, something that was requested by people that kept commenting on my previous Amorphage duel videos, saying, why are you not playing Card of Demise? Well, the reason I wasn't playing Card of Demise was because, in my mind, it conflicts very heavily with the deck. One, Card of Demise and Duality conflict very heavily on any turn that you're trying to resolve Void Expansion. Any turn that you would be capable of Pendulum Summoning, you have to sacrifice it to Duality or Card of Demise, or you have to sacrifice the Duality or Card of Demise to Pendulum Summon. There's various little differentiating things, as well as the fact that, like, your scales like Lechery and Greed do actually conflict with your Card of Demise strategy, because you do, like, increase the amount of traps in the deck, which Greed conflicts with, and then you increase the, like power of the spells in your deck that you're trying to resolve, which means that Lechery can, like, lock you out as well from using Card of Demise. It promotes very weird play lines, but ultimately I'm just giving it a shot, trying it out. I've tweaked the deck a bit. I've played some games with it and tweaked it down to the version you see on paper. Goliath and Sloth were, like, the first cards that got cut, just because, like, you ended up having situations where you had, like, since you have so few Pendulum monsters in this build, you'd end up with, like, something like where you'd have Lechery plus a Sloth in your hand, and then you'd have, like, Card of Demise, and it's like, wow, this is terrible, because you, like, definitely just didn't want to put Sloth in your scale and normal summon Lechery, because Lechery would just be tributed and you lose it in the extra deck, stuff like that. Just little nuances like that just ultimately just got me tweaking the deck list down to where it ultimately is. Now, the issue I have with this deck in general is because of the fact that, what if you don't draw Card of Demise? That's my biggest issue. What if you just don't draw this card? Other Card of Demise decks like Cosmo, Klee, and Magic Spectre and Yosenju Demise, they have the added bonus of their decks can still function properly without drawing Card of Demise. You don't change the deck too heavily to implement Card of Demise into it. Whereas with this deck, you add, like, 6 to 7 traps, you cut out, like, 7 of your monsters, which are, like, your game plan. Your monsters are definitely your game plan, because you, like, need a monster on board to have the scale effect be live at these things. So there is that. While you do have the other cards like Void Expansion to allow you to, you know, tribute off cards that aren't your monsters on board, gain extra cards, and then you have Infection that just gives you extra cards as well as Lilith being able to swap out for the right scales. Like, ultimately, it just, all in all, seems very, very forced. The interactions this deck has upon itself seem very forced. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of it, but then again, I wasn't the biggest fan of the last Amorphage deck either. But anyway, that's enough rambling on with what I think about this deck in this little part of this video. Let's just jump into the game, and we can see what we are going to be dealing with here. Alright, so let's see what we can have here. I'm breaking my own rule of just not doing live commentary for this one, simply because, like, I'm in a hurry. So, this will just have to do. Oh, cool. I actually drew Card of Demise. That's neat. There's been some problems of, well, here's an issue here, is that this and this just immediately conflict with each other. So, I could put these in my scales and hope to draw a monster, or I could just normal summon this, but I don't want to normal summon that anyway, because it's like the small one, it's Greed. So, yeah, I think this is my best play, is literally just do these, set this and set this, and then activate Demise, and hopefully get to a monster, or like, okay, so there's a monster, and there's another Card of Demise, but that means I don't get to keep my scales. The ideal to draw there would have been like monster plus either terraforming or just Void Expansion itself, but as it stands, this isn't the best, because now I've got this, which means I can't strike things, so there is that as an issue, but this will clear itself next turn, allowing me to Card of Demise. Next turn, I don't know. I've tested a lot of I've tested a lot of games with this deck before I decided to, like, start recording, and I've, like, never drawn Card of Demise. So strangely enough, the one time I draw, like, Card of Demise is the game that I am recording, and I was going to specifically try to make the point of, what if you don't draw Card of Demise? You're inherently playing a worse deck, and you've all of a sudden just made your deck worse in terms of you've slimmed down on all the cards that make your deck supposedly, like, playable, like what they're supposed to be doing, in favor of trying to resolve this card. But I mean, okay, I guess I'll just get, like, reward punished. Oh my god, this just can beat over my my Lechery, because this is here, meaning I can't activate Strike or Burying Mirror Force. This was, like, the worst scale to draw. This is the scale that you want to draw, like, and play on your second turn through either having it in hand or, like, Lilithing it. But as it stands, This was terrible. This was awful. Because now this can just attack over me. I don't have anything to do about it. Like, ugh. These are going to go away next turn, but I am going to be able to get a search, which means I'm going to be able to put another card in my scale, which means I should just get this. I should just get Gluttony, because I can just put Gluttony straight in my scale. If I draw a monster, I can normal summon it, and then I can activate Demise again. So there's that. I don't want to waste this Burying Mirror Force, or do I? Do I? Because if I do it here, that like really incentivizes him to do other plays. That doesn't matter right now. This isn't going to stay in my scale, so this will be live on another turn. That was just a really, really bad situation where having this and this in my scales just made it very, very problematic because of the fact that I couldn't activate this because I had the Amorphage card up. So literally I couldn't activate either of these to stop either of these. So he's going to Pendulum Summon now, and he's going to fall into a strike, and that's perfectly fine. I'm 100% okay with striking a Pendulum Summon. That's definitely... well, that card can go away. I don't want to deal with that one. I know he has a Deskbot 3 in his hand. Yes. Or no, Deskbot 5. That's what he searched. So I don't know anything that he has in his hand. The Deskbot 3 thing is from it targeting itself. Alright. Pot of Riches, that's actually pretty good. Because that means that these will all be able to be accessible as well out of my extra deck. So, what we'll do here is we will activate this, and we'll set the Pot of Riches, and then we'll resolve Card of Demise. That way we can draw cards first and see where things go. Pot of Riches is just a tech in this deck. I may have already addressed it in the deck editing, in the like deck list portion of this video. I can't remember what I say in those because I really just like ramble. Okay, so that's actually decent-ish. But Pot of Riches is a tech in here because if you do like resolve bad Card of Demises and have to discard cards, like Pot of Riches can put them back from graveyard or extra deck. So that was like the idea behind that. But this is actually pretty okay because I've got this trap backing it up, even though it is 0. So there's that, and then I've got this that I can use. And he can't activate monster effects, so there's that. I've got 2 traps backing it up actually. So unless this is like Twin Twister, I think I'm fine with this. Well, even if it is Twin Twister, I think I'm 100% fine. Card of Demise is going to discard my hand at the end of the turn. So do I want to activate this Pot of Riches and shuffle these back and like see what I draw? There's nothing else for it other than just doing it. So let's just do this. Instead of normal summoning this, I just want to shuffle these back and see what happens. And see what I can draw off of it. A Duality and a Lilith, which is actually really good, so we'll go with that. It does get my extra deck like unloaded because there was like Greed there, but it was like Greed and 2 Lecheries, which are... Is that 3 monsters? That is 3 monsters. Great. Well, alright. I don't want the Lecheries. I think Wrath is fine. But that just means that this is going to get discarded, or I could just put it in my scale. I mean, it doesn't really matter if it goes in my scale or not. It'll just give a boost through this, and then it'll be just a free card to pop off that. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. So yeah, I'll get Wrath, and I'll be able to I'll just put this other Gluttony in my other Pendulum scale. So I'll normal summon this, so that means he's locked out of using Deskbot 3's effect on itself. And then I'll just go ahead and activate this other one, just because I can. And now I've got these 2 cards to set, and Lilith will be able to like get a plus off of this popping itself into a proper scale, like say Greed or something. So it's definitely something that's valuable. So we'll attack this, and hopefully there's no back row there that actually matters. If this is something that actually matters, then that's going to suck, because that means he's going to be removing this from the field, meaning that he's going to be free to use effects because there will not be an Amorphage on the board, which would be problematic in the purest of senses. He doesn't take any battle damage because of Card of Demise, so I'm just going to set these, and I'm going to end my turn. Do I have auto chain order off? I do not. I need to reset that as my default eventually. But having this on, it tries to tribute your monsters first before you have a chance to activate Void Expansion. So, if you turn that off, it'll ask you first. And that's what you want. Okay, so he's normal summoning this. I've got 2 of effect negations in the scale, so 2 Majesty's Fiends are in the scale, so he can't even activate it. So this is basically like a free turn for me, because if he Pendulum summons and tries to be bigger than Wrath, I just get to Burying Mirror Force him, and then I just get to like do things like that. Or I could just Lilith him. If he's like attacking with something that's like negligible damage. It's that. Ooh. Well, he can't actually use its effect to gain the other attack boosts. So I'm in a very good position anyway. So I'm gonna activate this. I'm just gonna go ahead and activate it now, just in case he decides to attack and have something like maybe limited removal. Who knows? But they all go down by 5, so that is good for me. And this goes up by another 100. And I want to just preemptively have this activated anyway, just in case like something weird happens with DevPro's coding, because that's definitely something that has happened before. Is that like you'll chain this to the guy like trying to destroy itself and it just won't register. So there is that. But we'll activate this, get this here. That way I have enough to tribute for both my things. If this is a trap that matters, it's going to suck. But I do have Pendulum Reborn now, so that actually is very good. So we'll activate this. And this will also replace itself with another thing here, so that doesn't actually matter. No, do not tribute. Yes, use this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put something that just... well, I want greed in the scale. Yes. I want greed. It has to be a 3 scale regardless. Tribute monster, yes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to search a monster that I'm going to normal summon so that it can turn off if that's a strike. It'll turn that off. But otherwise, so we'll get another pride. Or the only pride. This is actually Wrath. Alright. Tribute monster, yes. We'll tribute this. And so now I have my scale set. I can normal summon this first, because if this is strike and I pendulum summon into it with both, they're going to die. But if this is on board with greed, then I'm able to pendulum summon this other one for absolutely free. So there is that. So we'll pendulum this. Everything else goes down further. So I've got this. I've got Pendulum Reborn. So if these die, I will be able to Pendulum Reborn a guy back. All in all, this seems really good for me, especially since this is up as well. So yeah, we'll just keep going with what we've got. I don't really care about this because the boost it gives is not going to matter. In fact, I could just attack it. I should have attacked it first, and then these would drop to zeros. This gets to protect itself by ditching another card. That's right. But that thing doesn't get to activate, so there's that. I forgot that this thing had that effect where it can just protect itself. But it's fine, because unless he has like something like Twin Twister, he's not going to be able to clear my scales, which means he's not going to be able to clear Majesty's Fiend or anything like that. But even if he does Twin Twister this, I don't have any more Gluttonies, so that would be an actual issue. That would actually be an issue. Not even going to pretend. So I've got these Buryings down, and I've got this Pendulum Reborn down. I can't activate any of them because of greed being here, so that is a slight issue. But turns out I just win anyway out of principle, because I have Majesty's Fiend and Royal Decree in my scales, so that seems pretty alright. The issue I do have with this deck, though, is that you can just have games where you don't draw a card of Demise. And, like, that's the big issues. Like, all these other card of Demise decks, like Klee Demise, Magispector Demise, Cosmo Demise, Yosenju Demise, like, you're not really altering the structure of those decks too heavily in order to implement, like, card of Demise into them. And even when you do implement card of Demise into them and alter them in some way, shape, or form, you're making very minor changes, and the changes that you make doesn't stop the deck from functioning on its own if it doesn't draw a card of Demise. Changing this deck to implement card of Demise, though, you cut like 10 monsters, you cut like a bunch of cards that actually matter, and then you add a bunch of cards that actually just conflict with your overall game plan, meaning that, like, if you have greed in the scale and you have an Amorphage guy up, then you can't activate your traps like Pendulum Reborns, Quakings, Solemn Strikes, things like that. Like, it conflicts a little bit too much for my liking. And what if you just don't draw a card of Demise? That is my very valid point on this, is what if you just don't? What if you just don't draw a card of Demise, and now you're just playing an inherently worse deck in the form of Amorphages that you've also made worse to implement the usage of card of Demise, because you have very few scales in your deck, like, all these traps and stuff are just like one-off cards that don't really contribute to your game plan, which is flooding your opponent out. Stuff like that. I'm all for testing this deck in card of Demise form, like in card of Demise format, like more heavily, but like from what I've tested with it and making multiple changes to tweak it down to something that actually functions on a regular basis, like it just seems to not really help the deck overcome its already existing problems. But anyway, I want to know what you guys think about this deck and the card of Demise version of it in the comments down below in general. I'm going to be busy at Nationals, so I might not read them or respond to them until like I get back on Monday or Tuesday, so there is that to consider. But other than that, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe to all the nonsense you usually do. Links are in the description of my Facebook pages if you want to check those out. feel free to do so. If you want to suggest a deck for me to play, send a deck list to my Facebook fan page. The link to that is in the description, as I've already said. If you want to support me, clicking ads on my videos and disabling ad block when you view my videos is the best way to do so. Helps me out a lot. Can't express how much it helps. And if you have an ad block enabled, if you could just take a few seconds out of your day to disable the ad block, refresh the video, click an ad or two, then put the ad block back on when you're done. It takes seconds out of your day, it takes no money out of your pocket, and helps me out so very much, more than I can ever express to you. And you'd have my eternal gratitude if that is something you decided to take some time out of your day to do. But other than that, that's all for this video. And as always, guys, take care.